One of the most asked questions I get from family and friends is, how in the world are you able to afford all of that travel? Well, I'm actually heading on a trip to Canada soon, and so I'm going to be walking you guys through all of my secrets on how I can travel for cheap. But first, let's do a quick rundown of my financial situation. So I graduated about 4 years ago from college, where I was on a full-ride scholarship, and so I literally graduated with zero student debt. I also have my car paid off, and I live in a pretty great place where I share my rent amongst roommates, so my only monthly expenses that I currently have are my phone bill, my rent, and my insurance, which in total comes in to around $600 every single month. I've been working a full-time salary job since I graduated from college, and I'm so grateful for that. And I also don't have any children or anything like that, so all of the money that I am making is really going to me. I have nobody else that I need to spend it on, and so I'm able to use all of my extra money besides the money that I use for my monthly expenses to kind of do whatever I want with it, which is what I'm able to use for traveling. And yes, I have been able to go on vacation for totally free, so I'll show you guys how you can do that as well as how to save money on your flights and hotels. So I've got a pack for my trip now, and one way that you can save money pretty easily is actually starting with your bags. So if you're flying, you typically get to bring a carry-on item like this suitcase and a personal item for free, but anything else you have to check your bag and you have to pay for that. I always can pack everything just in my carry-on suitcase and my personal item, even for trips that are longer than a week, by using different space-saving techniques that can help you fit more in here, and then you don't have to pay for checked bags. This is totally like an influencer, YouTube, TikTok, whatever, maybe buy it, but I learned about packing cubes from different influencers on the internet, and what they are is they just kind of look like this, but you're able to fit a ton of items in here, and it just makes your suitcase a little bit more organized, so you can put like all of your jeans in one, all of your shirts in one, jammies, swimsuits. They even have like a shoe bag for one of them. You can fit like 2 pairs of shoes in here, I think, and some of them even come with like little laundry bags. So I like to use these to help just keep me organized, because you fold everything up and it's just nice and neat. It's all kind of there together, and it makes your organization and your suitcase just a lot easier to handle and deal with while you're traveling. Another way for you to be able to save space in your suitcase and therefore not have to bring an extra suitcase is to use these airtight packing bags. You kind of just stuff all of your clothing in there, and then you roll it up a little bit so that way all the air gets sucked out, and it's almost like it's vacuum sealed clothes. When I travel on planes that are more of like a budget plane, so you only get a personal item like a backpack, I'm actually able to fit a weekend's worth of clothes in there by using these vacuum seal bags. Another way you can save money is to not fall into the gimmick of travel size beauty products. Now this is one that I am guilty of as well. I have a whole bag right here full of shampoo, conditioner, and face wash, even a miniature deodorant. Now, when you are traveling internationally, they do sometimes limit the amount of liquids that you can bring in like a regular bag. Instead of going out and purchasing miniature sized products, I would recommend going to like a Walmart, Target, even Amazon has these. These are just like small containers that you can, they come empty and you can put whatever you want in them. So I got this set from Target, and I was just able to get my regular shampoo and conditioner, and I put them in these, and then my makeup remover is in here. I have a moisturizer. Well, it's pretty much all empty in here, but I can put more moisturizer in here, and that way you aren't purchasing another product that's just miniature sized. You can just use what you normally have, add them in here, and then when you're done with your trip, you can either leave them in here or you can add them back into the original sized containers. But it's definitely cheaper to do it this way versus going out and purchasing additional products that are miniature sized that you're only going to use whenever you're traveling. I'd rather use the things that I'm using currently and then add them back into the containers once I get home, so that way the products are expired on the next time I go on a trip. This is kind of a bonus tip and only applicable really in certain situations, but if you're traveling somewhere that you go and you visit a lot, for example, whenever I go and visit my parents now, I actually just keep a shampoo and conditioner bottle along with my favorite kind of face wash, deodorant, everything. I keep a whole bag of it at their house, so that way I don't have to worry about bringing it with me, because I sometimes forget, and then I have all my favorite products there, and I don't have to worry about making sure that I have small travel size containers with me when I'm traveling there. Okay, so I've just finished packing up my carry-on suitcase. Now I was able to fit all of my clothes in these 2 packing cubes. I was able to fit all my toiletries, like charging cords, everything in here, and then put my shoes on top. And I still have this extra space right here, so I can add more things in here or save it for space for souvenirs and items I'm gonna be picking up on my trip. All right, now that we are all packed up, let's talk about where we're gonna be staying. And make sure that you listen really closely here, because one of these tips got me into my hotel that we're gonna be staying at in Canada for completely free. My first tip is to not be afraid of hostels. I typically travel with either friends or family, so hostels are still a relatively safe option, but even if I was traveling solo, I still feel comfortable enough to be able to stay in one by myself and be able to save a lot of money that way. It's a great way to meet other travelers as well, which is a lot of fun. Now, some hostels are only for people who are 18 and older, but the hostels that I stayed at in Switzerland were actually very family friendly and are a great option, and they were even a lot cheaper than the hotels and Airbnbs that we were finding in the same area. Obviously, you should look at the reviews of the place before you stay. You can look at hostelworld.com. That has a lot of the hostels, especially in Europe, but they have them all over the United States as well as other countries. Look at those reviews and you can kind of make your decision based off of what other people have to say about their stay there as well. I've stayed at quite a few hostels at this point and I have never had a bad experience, so I definitely say to look into that because they can be just a lot cheaper. Now, this tip is not for everyone and can be pretty limited to location, but if you are in an area where there are a lot of monasteries or nunneries, they actually will allow you to stay there for either free or a very discounted price. We almost did this, but they do have curfews. Most of them have curfews at least, and by the time that we were going to be getting there with our train, it would have been after the curfew, and so we didn't feel like it would be a very good option for us, so we ended up staying at a hostel instead. But I've always wanted to stay at a monastery or a nunnery, so maybe one day soon I will try doing this. Now, if you're more of an Airbnb person, this tip is one way that we were able to get tons of our Airbnbs for really cheap in Europe. Now, most Airbnbs like this one usually have a specific rate that they book at every single week. However, if you wait 1 or 2 days before your stay, the Airbnbs that aren't booked for that particular day usually will be discounted by their host for a rate that is hard to beat because they want people to actually book them last minute. Now, this can be a little risky because they might not have any options for you, but usually where we were at, there were plenty of options. And since it was the day or two before, they were greatly discounted because the renters were trying to find someone to book them. So we found lots of great options for very cheap. In fact, my friend, when he was in Ireland, found a castle for super cheap on Airbnb by booking it the day before he arrived at the castle. This also is definitely going to be a better option for shorter stays, but it can save you some serious cash. Now, this final tip is how you're able to find a hotel for completely free. This is called travel hacking, and here's how I did it. So Chase Bank has lots of different credit cards, but sometimes they have deals with their credit cards where if you sign up for one and then spend a certain amount within the first 3 months, they'll give you upwards of 90,000 points that you can then use to transfer to airlines and different hotel chains. Now, these spend limits are usually pretty reasonable and don't actually cost you any extra money. What I usually do is just put my monthly expenses and my regular expenses that I would normally make onto this new card so I can hit that limit. So that way I'm not spending any extra money, I'm just changing my form of payment. Now, I'm definitely not an expert on travel hacking, but if you go over to Travel Hacking Mom on Instagram, they have taught me everything I know and make travel hacking very simple to understand. So I definitely recommend giving their Instagram a follow, or if anything, go check out their website because you will definitely be able to save some serious cash. So I was able to book my hotel that we're staying at in Calgary just completely on points through the Chase travel portal. And I'm also planning on using my points to book my hotel when I go to New York for, again, completely free, just using my points that I earned on my credit card. Now, when it comes to flights, you can actually save a lot of money. I'm about to get on this flight right here, and I'm going to be saving over $300 using a flight subscription service called Flights from Home. Flights from Home does all of the searching for you by finding cheap flights all over the United States, but also all over the world. Flights from Home will show you flights based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, Las Vegas, Nevada, and occasionally flights out of Los Angeles, California. You can also follow them on Instagram and they will show you tons of great deals, but you can also sign up for their subscription service on their website. They have a completely free subscription service where they will send you 25% of the flights that they find that are greatly discounted, and they will even send you the direct link to book through. If you pay the $50 a year subscription, then you are able to get access to all of the flights that they find that are deeply discounted, and you can book them straight from that email. So it's really easy and definitely very cost effective. I have a friend who pays for this, and she will actually just forward me the emails with deals to places that she knows I am interested in going. So I don't personally pay for this, but if she didn't do that, then I would probably pay for it, because even if you book one trip a year, that $50, you're totally saving more than $50 on that trip. So it's totally worth it. If you aren't in the Las Vegas or Salt Lake City area, there's also different flight subscription services that do the same thing, like Pomelo Travel. That's how my friends have all gotten to Europe, is through Pomelo Travel. That one is more international flights, but there's tons of other flight services. Like Hopper is a great app as well that you can use that'll find you cheap flights and send you notifications for when those flights are. Now, again, I was able to score free flights using my flight points that I got from my credit cards through travel hacking. Again, I'm not the expert, so go check out Travel Hacking Mom, but it really cannot get better than free. Like, it really can't. All right, while I wait for my flight, I have a few bonus tips for you. Take advantage of flight credit on overbooked flights. Now, this is always a very risky move and it's never guaranteed, but if your flight ever gets overbooked, usually they will ask for volunteers to be rebooked on a flight that's going out later that day or the next morning, and they will rebook it for you for free and give you flight credit for a future flight that doesn't include the one that you're about to go on. And if it's an overnight flight that you have to wait for, then they'll actually usually pay for your hotel as well. So if you have the time to do that, definitely check that out, because it's a great way for you to get free flights in the future. This actually happened to my family when we were in Texas. They called us and asked if we would mind going on a flight that was 2 hours later, and then we were able to use that flight credit and fly our whole family to San Francisco for a week. You can always negotiate with the airline as well to try to get more flight credit or more money out of it. You never know, because usually they're going to be pretty desperate for people to give up their seats so that way they can fit everyone on the plane. If you are flying somewhere and you don't really want to rent a car because that can be expensive, there's a few other options that I would suggest doing so that way you can save money on transportation. The first one is if you're in a place that has a big city, or even Europe where there's tons of tourists all over, there's a lot of bird scooters and electric bikes that you can rent. Now, these bikes will cost anywhere between a few cents a minute to a few cents a mile. It just kind of depends on the brand, but that's what we did when we were in Europe, and we only spent like between $15 to $20 a day on transportation because we were just scootering and biking around everywhere. And it was also a lot of fun, and there's some all over the city, so you don't have to worry about parking or where you were gonna drop them off, because you just had to drop them off in a certain zone, and usually there were tons there when we would leave as well. The second option is to take trains. And if you're in an area where there are lots of trains, definitely look into that, because they can be really cheap and an easy way to get to place. And if you take an overnight train, they'll usually have beds on there, so it counts as your lodging as well, which will save you money on a hotel or Airbnb. The third one is to look at rental cars, and you can actually book your rental cars on points if you travel hack through the Chase travel portal. That's one of the ways that we've done it, is by booking our rental car through the Chase travel portal. So again, it's being booked on points and you don't have to worry about actually paying cash for the car. For all of your activities and events that you're going to be doing in your destinations, I would definitely suggest looking at Groupon. Groupon is a great way to find really fun activities, events, things to do, but you get a really great deal on it, so you don't have to pay as much money, and it's a lot of fun when you feel like you have a cool coupon. I just feel like it makes things a little bit better. All right, you guys, we have made it here in Calgary, Canada. Hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in my next one very soon. Bye!